swear to God, I'm taking over 19. Hey, back, hit a $250,000. When it's here, pretty chilly. I've been trying to find me really wow. Silly, yo, I be gone like Cheerio. Really though, swear we finna get the gold. You the goat, but the most been getting old. Standing still, yeah, I'm getting way too cold. Like it's uno dos, I go single on these hoes. Dozen songs, dozen shows, guess that's just one way to grow.
Hello, welcome to Dynasty DGen's Rookie Profiler series. If you're new to listening or watching, this is a series where we go over your favorite prospects with your favorite analysts, and today is no exception. We have Fantasy Pros Derek Brown with us at Dbro_FFB. Dbro, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, baby? We get what are we, a week out from the NFL draft? As we're recording this, like it's peeking over the horizon. We can actually see it. It's not just the far off in the distance kind of entity. We're like, I think I see it. We can actually get it. Like it's the silhouette is there. We know it's coming. I'm so excited.
Yes, baby. I'm pumped. I've been posting content, and then I just think that this is going to keep going. It's only going to evolve. Obviously, this pod is not going to die. If people are thinking we're not going to have this pod anymore after the draft, it's only going to evolve, and we're going to have DC. We're going to have landing spots. It's going to be a longer pod, if anything. So it's just going to be fun. But D-Bro, we're going over one of your guys today. So we are talking RJ Harvey. So RJ Harvey out of UCF, he's a senior coming in at 5'8", 205. I think he's coming in a little heavier than that. He is somebody that I think both of us are very excited about. He had some good years. So 22, he was a redshirt freshman. He came in, didn't have the opportunity quite yet, but in 2023, we see what he did right here: 1,416 total rush yards, 18 touchdowns, had some receiving work in there. And he pretty much just topped that in 2024. And, we saw him show out in the combine. We saw everything that he did, his long speed. UCF did that crazy edit where they had him running down the line and then they moved over, and it was just one of my favorite edits of the offseason there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we know what we see in his tape. We see that he's got that lateral movement. He is very shifty. He's got elite speed on the outside. I think he could just break out there. But you chose this guy for a reason, and I want to get into what you love about him, and then we can just kind of play off each other, go back and forth, and just talk a little bit about his attributes that could translate to the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. I mean, from the time I turned on the tape for RJ Harvey before the Senior Bowl, I love this kid. Before the combine, after the combine, he has been my RB5 of this class. Right behind, Genty, Caleb, Travion, and Amarion. And RJ Harvey, he's explosive, man. You put the ball in his hands, and I think there's a few talking points that everybody kind of goes to when they first bring up Harvey, and I know we're going to get to that. I think the first thing that people first gravitate to with him and usually start the conversation is either his explosive ability or his age. And I'll just lead this off. I'm not worried about his age at all. Like people get so caught up in that. Like I understand that RJ Harvey is not a young pup. I get that he's 24 years old. In Dynasty, I mean, in redraft, you don't give a crap about that. In Dynasty, honestly, you shouldn't care about it either, because the reality of it is either RJ Harvey is going to come into the NFL, he's going to get draft capital, he's going to earn opportunity, and he's going to be really stinking good. And if that's the case, I mean, second contracts are not promised to any running back. Like, you have to be good and sustain good for multiple years to earn a second contract. So either he's going to come in and he's going to be really good, or he's not. And if he's good, he's going to earn a second contract, and all that stuff doesn't matter, because we're seeing running backs, because again, like, we can rewind a few years and the NFL, and it was all the running backs don't matter and all that kind of stuff. Do we see the NFL valuing the running back position more? They're extending guys, and we're seeing guys that are not exactly young anymore getting second contracts, getting extensions. And so if RJ Harvey is as good as we all hope him to be, the age isn't a concern for me. And I'm just going to bet on the talent. I'm going to bet on the traits, and just looking at his overall skill set. I mean, I put a video out earlier this week for Fantasy Pros and saying, if you're looking for the next Bucky Irving in 2025, it could be RJ Harvey, as a player that is Going to go maybe in the 4th round of the NFL draft. We'll talk about it. Maybe he goes higher than that. But I think that's kind of the baseline. Like, I don't see him falling below the 4th round of the NFL draft. And if we're just looking at the talent profile, now there are differences between him and Bucky. But looking at the talent profile, dude, he jumps off the freaking page, man. Like, for a player that over the last 2 collegiate seasons has been top 20 in both breakaway percentage and elusive rating. You look at missed tackles forced per attempt, he pops there as well. You turn on the tape, he's shifty, he can create yards. And that's one of the biggest things for me when I'm watching running backs and lining it up with analytics is running backs that, like, you have the different archetypes of running backs. You have guys that are runway backs that need like that head of steam, where you have guys that are more linear runners, they're more one cut and downhill guys. And then you have guys that personally I love of every class, where they're in that 5'8" to 5'10" build. They're in that 200 to 215-ish type of build, and they're twitchy, they're rocked up, they can create yards for themselves. And those are the players that I'm not saying I put them higher than other players, because every time it's contextual about their skill set and the class and things like that. But those are the guys that I really love and that stand out, because the fact of the matter is that some of these guys, when we're talking about archetypes of running backs, they need to be put into a certain system. They need to be put into a team that has an above average offensive line where they can create that runway and get the guy the build up speed to get into the second level and really make things happen. Whereas you have players like RJ Harvey, I think he's scheme agnostic and he can create yards for himself. And so you can airdrop him into any damn team, whether their offensive line is bottom 10, middle of the pack, top 10, and he's going to play well. And we'll see, obviously, like, the scheme and the offensive line can help elevate, but also hold players down. But those types of players that can create for themselves are the ones where you can drop them anywhere and they're going to go ball out.
Yeah, I agree with all that wholeheartedly. I think he isn't just a scheme dependent guy. To piggyback and what you were saying, you see the explosiveness, you see his just elusive running, and then also the ability to make guys miss is really important, especially when you're talking about guys that aren't in that top tier of running back. This is what you look for. These traits are what you want to target as far as rookie drafts go, is the guys that are explosive and elusive, because those guys are going to see value no matter what. Just to drop a couple things on PFF. This is per PFF itself. He's 4th rushing grade total. So that's in all running backs. 49 explosive runs over 10 yards, which actually he's 1 of 1 in that category. Mm-hmm. And then he's 16th on the elusive rating. And this is all of rookie running backs of the 2024 class. So it's, to be number 1 on explosive runs over 10 yards, that's 49 total. That's just a huge green flag to me. You're just telling me that this guy is a weapon. He's somebody that you get him the ball no matter what, especially in space. He's gonna produce, and he's gonna produce beyond 10 yards, which is, I want that. I need that. And he goes to the outside a lot, but he can go in the middle. He does have that contact balance. He doesn't really go down on the arm tackles or the first touch. It's for his size. He does show that he is a hard tackle. I don't think he's like an all around hard tackle, given the landscape of running backs, but like, given his size, people would assume that he wouldn't, put up a fight as far as going down. But he does have that ability. He's got that dog where he takes some touches and then he gets through. He does that. He can break tackles pretty easily, as far as what I see. And there's just a lot to love about him. Obviously, we just talked about everything that we like about him. We talked about maybe him being zone agnostic, which is the whole scheme of everything, which is like, there's not a lot of guys. A lot of guys are used to a system. They're used to a play style. And if you take them out of there, it's really hard for them to produce at the next level. Is there anything that you don't like about his game? We'll just transition to that, and then we'll go back just to maybe touch on his total value and why he's not considered one of the top running backs in the class.
So I want to add one more little piece to what you just laid out there. I think for his size, he's a tougher running back than people give him credit for. You see the ability to finish runs that and churn out those extra hard fought yards. And I think that's going to help him both in short yardage situations in the NFL, not coming off the field, but also in, because when we get into and getting back to Harvey's, like, these 5'8", 205, people are going to have questions about, okay, is he going to be a goal line back in an offense? And I think he can be. I think he's very good in that role because he runs under his pads, he runs behind his pads, and he has good leg drive, especially for his size, to be able to finish runs well. That's going to translate to the NFL. But the things that I think that we have to talk about with him is I think he's a 3-down running back. And we've really highlighted his early down ability so far. And so with the pass game stuff, I think that he can develop into being more of a pass game weapon. Like at UCF, it was a lot of dump off stuff, a lot of swing routes, a lot of flat routes, a lot of the usual running back stuff, not a ton of like creative things where, you don't see him running a ton of wheels and angle routes and things like that. But I think considering his movement skills, we could see if an offensive coordinator wants to utilize him more in a creative fashion in the NFL, they can do that, or at least that's how I'm projecting it. But again, it's an unknown because we haven't seen it as much. And again, if we're going to talk about the pass game utility and we're talking about, okay, we love running backs that catch the ball out of the backfield. That's the bread and butter of fantasy. That gives you not only like brings you from RB2 to RB1 or RB1 to top 3 to top 5 in a season. So he has the pass game skills there because, you just look from efficiency metrics like 1.3, 1.27, 1.75 yards per route run over the last few years. It's there on his tape, but I know that a lot of people have questions, or one of the concerns is he's not a great pass blocker. If you look at, just all 3 years at UCF, this guy's had 220 passing down or pass blocking snaps. He's allowed 16 hurries and 5 sacks. His pass blocking grades have never been good. So that's definitely a question. Now, I will say, and I know I'm kind of like painting a rosy picture here, that you see the willingness to pass block on his film and you see the play strength. And I think those are two big things that are really inherently important for running backs. It's because not every running back like comes out, like we can also paint a wide brushstroke that a lot of running backs come out of college and they're not good pass protectors, just straight up. Like out of all the things that these guys work on a weekly basis, and I'm not saying they don't work on pass protection, but if you're talking about all the other stuff that they're working on a weekly basis and a yearly basis, that's one of the lower rungs of importance compared to everything else they're working on. And so I think we could paint a wide brushstroke and say most running backs coming out of college are not good pass protectors, or they do have a lot to clean up in their games there. So it's not necessarily a massive worry for me, but it is in the conversation when we talk about his projection in the NFL and the drawbacks of the things that we do worry about. And people could bring up, the torn ACL in 2021. I'm not worried about that. He hasn't shown the propensity for injuries and to get dinged up since, but it's part of the conversation.
Yeah, to touch on his pass catching ability, I think he showed natural hands in his tape. I've watched quite a bit of
definitely.
tape. He has the ability to catch. I think his usage just wasn't quite there. I don't think they were using him in that capacity. And I think that there is not a lot of holes to his game, but I think if I was going to touch on a couple things, he does show some indecisiveness, which I think he can. These things that we don't like about him, like you said, pass protection, they are easily like solidified. I think you can show a coaching staff that the willingness is just more than anything else. Like if you're willing to block, there's some running backs out there that just don't want to block. And they're like, this is not my thing. And
business decisions.
Like, they're looking out for that second, third contract, whatever it is. And that's going to either reflect on their playing time or they're already locked in, and it is what it is. But he's going to show that he wants to block. Like that's the thing about him, is he's shown the willingness. So that's important. The indecisiveness, I think, is also him just being such a staple in that offense. I think he had a lot of pressure to produce, and that was like a different realm. Like you could chalk that up as this guy felt like he had to make a massive play every time he touched the ball. He felt like he needed to be the guy that moved that offense. So I think that indecisiveness was more about him feeling the pressure of just wanting to produce a massive play. Like there's a little dancing and stuff like that, but this is going to be very cleaned up. I think it's just not something that you should be overly concerned about. Before we get into
to your point on the vision stuff, that I think is very big too, is that I did highlight that in my write-up on fantasypros.com. Like, his vision can kind of get, I'm not going to say when the picture is muddier, there are times where I wish he would hit a cutback lane, or I wish he would follow the play design. I think some of that also becomes like, when you're on the field and you realize you're a bad dude, you have the ability to break tackles. You have the ability, you are athletic enough. And I mean, dude, Harvey proved that. 8.4 RAS. I mean, we're looking at 91st percentile or higher in the vert broad, 40-yard dash. I mean, everything, you just checking boxes here. When you're that level of athlete too, and depending on the offense and things like that, not only the pressure to create big plays, but there are times where you're just like, I know I can bounce this run and I can run away from you. I know I can bounce this run and I can stiff arm you into oblivion. I know I can bounce this run and you're not going to catch me. Some of that, I think, is naturally the NFL, after he does that 2 or 3 different times and the NFL says, you're really good. But at this level, we're all running 4.4s, baby. We're all running 4.3s. We're all athletic as shit out here. That's the part where it's like, okay, I need to play a little bit more in structure. I need to follow my blocks a little bit better. When the play breaks down, what am I going to do? Am I going to try to bounce this, or am I going to take the 2-3 extra yards and live to fight another day? So I think that's also part of it. And I'm not saying, he has that consistent hero ball, but just kind of like, opening the hood and explaining some of the things, not only on his tape, but the why behind it too.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, is like, he's going to realize that he can't be that indecisive at the next level. He does that bounce off. If you notice, his massive plays usually come on the outside. He does produce in the middle there, but like, he likes to bounce it on the outside. I think he's going to have success doing that in the NFL, but I think he's also going to have to find a way to really produce in the middle of the field sometimes, and make that choice to go north-south instead of kind of go on the outside. But I think, like you said, that's going to come with time. I think that's going to come with the transition to the NFL. And I think he's got the capability of just making that transition pretty well.
Yeah, because he's a good interior runner too. Like, if you just look at like the breakdown of like he has the ability to bounce it and stuff like that. But also, if you look at like just the more granular stuff of how his plays and stuff like that, like runs up the A gap on both sides of the line. I mean, we're talking about 6.8, 4.9 yards per carry. You jump into the B gap, it's 12.2, 5.1 yards per carry. So the big play in the interior running is also there too.
Yep. Yeah. I like that you pulled that. I was actually going to pull that myself. So that's perfect, man. I appreciate that. We're going to kick it over to the Podfather. He's going to talk about the rookie profiler, the series that he has, and then the guide that he's pulling off right now. And then we'll get back to possibly talking DC landing spots, all that good stuff.
Theo Greminger is gone. We wish him all the best, but he did leave for us a great gift, the 2025 Player Profiler Rookie Guide. That's right. It is here. It is beautiful. It will help you dominate your rookie drafts this year. It features 60-plus player breakdowns, written primarily by Theo Greminger himself, as well as our proprietary NFL draft grades and strategy and tactics for dominating your rookie draft this year. We have a composite rankings with Theo's rankings, Cody, John Lobb, Jagger May, and Jax Falcone. It's right there on Player Profiler. It's $20. You won't find a better draft kit. You certainly won't find a better draft kit value. So go get it on PlayerProfiler.com.
All right. Yeah, go over to Player Profiler, use our promo code DGEN, DEGEN, and you will get a $25 off subscription over there. But let's talk about projected DC. So I think that we are aligned with this. I think that you and I are assuming that he would probably go late day 2, early day 3. Is that really where you have him going?
Mm-hmm.
NFL?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the consensus right now, his EDP is in the 1-teens. I do think it's lagging a little bit, and some of this is we kind of talked about this before we turned the mics on and stuff like that, but like, I think the uncertainty of where all these running backs go and really in what order they go in after the top 2 guys is absolutely up in the air. So I think we're going to see surprises. I think we're going to see some guys get nuked a little bit in what people are projecting. And in there, I think there's a wide range. I could see, I don't think RJ Harvey gets into, because he is 24 years old, because he's not coming out of a helmet college. Like, even if he was 24 years old, if he went to an SEC school, if he went to Bama, if he went to one of those schools, then I think he would be getting talked about a lot more.
Yep.
Because that's just the nature of the draft. I mean, people can run away from it and say that's not a reality. Bullshit. It's an absolute reality. There are absolute helmet colleges and guys that get more puff and praise than other guys just because of where the hell they went to school. Quinshon Judkins, I'm staring at you. But RJ Harvey, like, coming out of UCF, like, I think, like, right now the EDP is sitting in the 1 teens. I think that's lagging. I'm in agreement. Like, I don't see him going in the second round in the NFL draft because of everything I just mentioned. I think right now, somewhere in round 3, probably the back end of round 3 is probably, I think, a reasonable expectation. And I think his floor is probably the 4th round. So early day 3. Like, he's not going to fall to round 5. If he falls to round 5, the NFL has massively screwed up.
Yeah. And that you're so right on that. We did talk about that a little bit backstage, where we're going to see blown up spots for a lot of these guys. We're going to see blown up spots for guys that are valued super high. I don't think the top 4 are going to get affected too much by this, but anything outside of the top 4, I think you're going to be looking at possibly, like a Zach Charbonnet situation where even like one of the top 5 running backs falls into a backfield that has a very good running back. We could see a guy jump into Buffalo, or, like anywhere that we see, like the Ravens could take a guy and he could have a red shirt freshman year at this point, where Derrick Henry's still going to be the top dog. So it's like, we're going to see a lot of guys blown up, and this range is very DC dependent for the most part. You can go off talent, but when you're in this little second, third tier, I hate to say it, but these guys are so close that you really have to go off of the DC and landing spot at this point. And it's not ever something that I do, but in a class so deep like this, it's hard not to.
Where RJ Harvey, just pulling out teams here, because I'd like to drill that down with you. Like, where in the back end of the 3rd round do you see him going? Like a 3-pack of teams you think he would fit really good for?
Let me see.
I got a few names if you want me to start this. Yeah,
start it up. I'm gonna pull this up right now, so we got this. We can do this in real time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, hit me with a couple names.
So I think Pittsburgh at 83 makes a ton of sense. With Jaylen Warren there, he fits the archetype of what they like. The other thing that I want to contextualize about RJ Harvey, again, going back to the age, I think a lot of teams, if you're looking at, you are going to draft RJ Harvey and you're going to draft him in the 3rd round, you got to have designs about him being the guy or in the mix to be the guy immediately. Because, again, is this a guy you're going to like draft and put him behind another starter, and then all of a sudden, like next year, it's like, oh, he could be the guy, but now he's 25. So that, I think that's another layer of context with the age that I'm hoping that the NFL follows suit. That they might not, but I'm looking at his age. So, go ahead.
I'm looking at it right now. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
You know what? Is there a world where we possibly see Denver? So
damn Denver's it! I was just gonna say the same thing.
Is there a world where we see Denver? This is the first running back they could take in the 3rd round. When we're looking at their needs, they need a wide receiver. They're gonna beef up this offense for Bo Nix, and they're looking at weapons. I could see them tapping wide receiver at. I don't know if they're going to go double there as far as offensive line goes, but they could go wide receiver. They need a tight end over there. I mean, they might not touch a running back until the 3rd round, and RJ Harvey in the 3rd round at 85 total. I feel like that would be my goodness, man. I mean,
wheels up.
Vaults and
people would be moving
up,
him
right?
up the board. If like he was the Denver guy, like with the landing spot in Denver, I think people would be just head over heels. But in that same range, like, tell me again, like mention Pittsburgh, Denver. Yep. Tell me that the Chargers couldn't pair him with Najee and he wouldn't be the guy that's eating into Najee's work. Hell, he's the 1A in the backfield by week 4. So again, another fantastic landing spot. Houston, I think would be a really good landing spot because, and everybody would say, oh, but Joe Mixon is gone after this year. He is gone after this year and he is not young. So that's another landing spot.
What about Minnesota? How do you feel about Minnesota?
I'd be fine with Minnesota. I'd be a little bit more down with the extension to Aaron Jones. And I don't see them going that way personally, only because I feel like they got ahead of it by extending Aaron
Mhm.
Jones and then adding Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was kind of like their answer to, instead of drafting a back, this is what we're going to do. So I don't think he probably goes to Minnesota, but I'll throw out two more teams. The Rams would be quietly good because I know everybody's going to say, well, but Blake Corum went there last year. Okay, Kyron Williams is a free agent after this year. If the Rams want to say, we're going to allocate resources and it's not going to be at the running back, we're going to get ahead of this. Blake Corum, we spent a mid-round pick last year on him. He got hurt. We had questions. We had the injuries already coming in. Then he got hurt again. Is he definitively the guy, the heir apparent? Who knows? I mean, I wasn't a Corum guy coming out regardless, but the last two teams I'll bring up here are exactly, I'll give you a 3-pack because, I mean, we're just kind of spraying the board here of possibilities for RJ Harvey.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking, now that you say the third round, though,
dude, there's so many good teams.
I can make a case from 85
Cleveland
to
the Browns.
Yeah,
he could be the starter immediately for Jerome Ford. They want to answer other questions. The Giants, because Tyrone Tracy is not going to be the starting running back for the Giants this year. I'm sorry, people. Like, you should have traded him away. Can we also, let's toss out the San Francisco 49ers. If CMC is not able to stay healthy this year, San Francisco can get out of his contract this year. And we know every single year, and everybody talks about, okay, what about Isaac Guerrero? Bro, I was higher than a lot of people in Isaac Guerrero last year. So I was already on that train and looking at what it looked like in the future, knowing that coming into this offseason, Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason were both going to be free agents. So can you tell me definitively that San Francisco wouldn't get ahead of it again? So where they're not, it's not like Guerrero doesn't carry his own detailed injury history with him as well.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think I've been banging that drum for a little while now that they are absolutely taking a running back to pair with CMC right now. And I'm with you though. Guerrero shows us, everybody, like, okay, you could plug any running back into that system, and we're talking about somebody that's going to be semi-successful in the NFL, right? I don't know if I share the sentiment with everybody, but we saw 3 or 4 different guys that were RB1s in that offense last year. And I'm not saying Guerrero's not talented. I'm not saying that all these guys that plugged and played aren't talented over there, but you could you take an RG Harvey and throw him in that offense, and he is a bona fide RB1 just based off of his skill set.
We just talked about his skill set as well in the terms of like what he's really good at and what he excels at. You're telling me that a team that operates with a ton of outside zone, that we don't think that, again, like his ability to bounce runs to the outside, not saying that like he needs to be doing it, but you look at San Francisco, they were 3rd in the NFL last year, even with Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero also toting the rock. The only 2 teams that ran more outside zone runs last season in the NFL were the Atlanta Falcons and the Detroit Lions. You're telling me that an outside zone heavy team wouldn't just be in lockstep with RJ Harvey's skill set? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty excited right now. I got one more for you. Washington at 93.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're talking about Eckler.
Yes.
Is Eckler a free agent, or he's got one more year? He's got one more year.
I think he's got one more year. I'm almost positive. Yeah. Brian Robinson Jr. is a free agent after this season. So again, I think that's another team that they are going to draft a running back. It's not a question of, I don't think it's a question of if Washington drafts a running back. I think it's a question of when they draft a running back. And Eckler is a free agent after 2025 too. So we're talking about the Commanders could have a total backfield reset. And again, we already mentioned the ethos of NFL teams getting ahead of these contracts. Like, you don't want to be sitting there walking into next year's NFL draft when we have a plentiful running back class this year that we're saying, okay, a lot of these guys are going to come in and take jobs from guys. The other side of that is there are a lot of guys that are going to get drafted to take over jobs from guys next year. So teams are going to get ahead of that. And Washington is a huge candidate to do it.
Yeah, I also like, I know people aren't up on this landing spot, but I think Indianapolis is going to tap a running back at some point in this draft as well. Because we're talking about JT being in a contract year, that extension's over after this year. And I think everyone is on the hot seat already. But if we see another unsuccessful season, if we see a Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson mess play out, like I think that could possibly happen. I think Steichen's probably on the move. I think that we're going to see a lot of movement. I don't think
really good call out, dude.
I don't think
just gotta give you some flowers there.
JT's probably not going to get extended if that transition happens. You know, I don't think JT wants to be there, and I don't think the new regime is going to lock up a 26-year-old running back to make a fresh start either.
Yeah, so he's got 1 year on his deal left after the upcoming season, so he's still under contract for 2026. But to your point, I think that is a fantastic and really sharp call out, because after the 2025 season, they can get out of his deal with only a $2.5 million cap hit. So yeah, like they have the ability to keep him, but can we also say JT's been banged up the last few years? It's not like he's been just absolutely freaking amazing at times too. Like, but I think it's a wonderful call out, because yeah, like again, if they want to reset and they want to move on from him, they could definitively do it after this year.
Yeah, I mean that offensive line, you could poke any hole you want into the Colts that you want, but the offensive line is one of their things that is holding true to their identity. I think it's really what they have, about the only thing that they can really shine a bright light on right now. So you could plug anybody in there and they could be not anybody. I'm sorry, I keep saying that like it's whatever. Like we could go be running backs in the NFL, but you know, you're talking about a successful guy in college coming in there like RJ Harvey. He would have success on that team as the RB1 for sure.
Oh yeah, he would.
I
mean, I don't know. You're maybe still at the running back stage of life. I'm kind of like transition more, and I'm in my fullback H-back stage. I'm more of the inline blocker at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I'm 175, man, 5'9". So I don't think it's not gonna even at my peak, I probably wasn't the size to do it. And right now, no, man, I'm all set. I got sciatic issues. I'm good. But anything you want to add on to RJ Harvey? Anything that you think we missed or we didn't cover for this guy? I know that we covered the gambit a little bit, but
yeah,
you know.
I think now the only thing, and I know not everybody's really big into this, I will throw out the comp that I have for him in my running back positional primer over at fantasypros.com. The closest that I came to RJ Harvey, and he was a little bit tougher player to comp to kind of get your head around the full package of in that frame, physicality, but also the big playability and the pass game utility. The closest I got to him was Aaron Jones.
I like that. I do. I think that Aaron Jones, obviously we saw the DC that he got. I think they essentially kind of are the very close players in the college realm there, just because of
similar career arcs.
I see the comp. I know that we're talking about a guy that wasn't like overly used for pass catching, but I have an Austin Eckler vibe too as well. And I know that we are comping him. We're comping him to two guys that are elite pass catchers in the NFL from the running back position, but it's not that we are saying that he is there quite yet, but I think that's possibly his ceiling, where we're talking about Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, somebody that is a smaller stature that can break free and has that big play ability and has short hands. And I think that if he's in that spot where he's being used in that capacity, he could succeed and he could be in that realm of a running back.
So there were so many parallels that I saw with Aaron Jones. It's like whether you want to go to the size 5'9", 208, you want to talk about him coming out of a small school, you want to talk about the possible draft capital, you want to talk about the career arc, you want to talk about the big play and explosive ability, and a guy that, again, like, are you ever going to want to give 25, 22, 24 carries on a weekly basis to? No, but can you give him 20 touches and sprinkle 4 to 6 opportunities across the passing game? If you're going to do that, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it lines up, and Aaron Jones exactly wasn't like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old running back coming out of El Paso. I mean, he was 23 when he hit the NFL. So, I mean, again, there's a lot that lines up there.
Yeah, and the I guess the early careers of these guys really could match up with Harvey too, where we're talking about him jumping in to an already established backfield and working his way in. Like, obviously Eckler came in behind Melvin Gordon and he was just a complimentary piece for an entire year. And then Gordon sat out and we saw what Eckler could do for a full season while he was solo. I think that's what we're looking at for Harvey, where he's going to be sprinkled in a little bit, and he's going to, show that he can be an explosive playmaker when he has the ball in his hands, but he might not have that immediately, but not to say that he's not going to get that eventually in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of comes with the territory of like when you're just looking at draft capital, like, and what the draft capital says. Like if you go in the first round, you were expected to be the workhorse, the starter, the guy that we lean on from day one. If you go in the second round, you're either the heir apparent or you're the 1B guy with probably you're going to be the 1A guy by week 5, week 7, or at least that's what the NFL team should expect out of you. Round 3 and round 4 of the NFL draft, you're in the mix. It's basically you come into camp, you're in the mix probably with some other guys, and either you could be the heir apparent or you could be the guy that makes some noise depending on the composition of the backfield. You can make some noise, and by week 7, you're the starter if you keep earning more opportunities. So part of that is just when you tie it to draft capital and with the expectations that teams have and what that draft capital says. I mean, yeah, that's the arc, again, going back to Aaron Jones, going back to Bucky Irving, guys that once they got opportunities, they kept smashing and smashing and smashing and smashing and pushing guys to the side and saying, no, I am the dude. I can be the dude. Just give me more opportunities and I'm going to show you.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I love that. I'm with you on that. We're simpatico when it comes to RJ Harvey. I know your rankings. So before we sign out of here, tell me the guys that are consensus running backs in the top tier that you would take RJ Harvey over. Just to, I know that you're ranking these guys off of possibility. You're ranking them based on their ability. There's nothing else attached to that. Obviously, the draft is going to change some things around, but I know that you have them over a couple guys that is spicy. So if you don't mind sharing those, and then we can definitely get you out of here.
Yeah, RJ Harvey. So again, he was my RB5, is my RB5 both pre and post combine. Those rankings are pretty much, I mean, they're solidified at this point until we do get draft capital and stuff. So the only guys that I have above him are Genty, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, and Amarion Hampton. Now, if you look at the consensus big boards out there, I have him lapping Quinshon Judkins. To me, they are not even in the same stratosphere of talent. I'm sorry, all the Judkins stands, but just a reality, man. Go check his numbers. Look past the counting stats. RJ Harvey, I have him, again, miles over Cam Scattaboo. I have him over Dylan Sampson. I have him over DJ Giddens. I love DJ Giddens, by the way. He is my RB6 of this class. Just looking in the aggregate, those are the guys that I have him over. The other guy that's risen up, I'll mention 2 more guys that I have him over that they're not above him in the consensus right now, but I think in a lot of ranks and considering what they did or didn't do at the combine or what they've done on film, people could have them ranked over him. And for me, these 2 running backs are in the same tier, but I have RJ Harvey also over the combine darling of Bashal Tootin, and I have him over Devin Neal. Tootin is my RB7, Neal is my RB8. And just to give it also context, I mean, I said Quinshon, he's my RB10 of the class, and Cam Scattaboo is RB11. So yeah, I have RB at the top of my 3rd tier, the very tip top of my 3rd tier.
And dude, I applaud you and I respect you because your process is your process. And I think I mentioned this to you a couple weeks ago. Dude, stand on that process. And anybody that says that your rankings are crazy or, man, I just can't I get it, but brother, your process is sound, man. And I love that you're not going consensus on that because you go through this for a reason. And if you're going to go with consensus, what's the point of even having a process in the first place? Right.
Dude, and not to get on my soapbox here for a second, but it's one of the things that after I've done this for really getting deep into prospects over the last like 3 years and getting deeper and deeper every year and trying to get better at it, I can definitively say that the draft community is, I'm not trying to like point anybody out. I'm not tossing just, strays and shade and stuff like that, but this is just reality. Like there's a lot of talk about people saying they love differing opinions. There's a lot of talk about people saying, we want different processes and different voices and stuff like that. Except when you actually do it and you have a different process, and this is not for hot takes. I don't do any of my rankings based off of, I can't wait to see what people say about this shit. I never do that, man. Like, it all comes down to, again, I am following my own process. I don't watch these guys during the season. I'm playing catch up after the collegiate season finishes. I'm watching as many games as possible of all 22. I'm mirroring it with the analytics. And a lot of times there's a lot of things where I am hand-holding with people about players. Like, it's not like I'm out here saying Ashton Genty isn't in his own tier. He's not the consensus and should be the consensus RB1 of this class and all this other kind of crap. But when it comes down to like splitting hairs for other guys that are down the board or elevating guys, yes, I think you said that exactly perfect. And I would say that to any other creators, any other evaluators, anybody else doing content, writing, anything. If you have a process, stand by it. If you feel good about that process. Now, year after year after year, you learn and you grow and you try to evaluate where I went wrong, where I hit things, and continue to get better and add to the process. Now, all that is to say, and you hit this perfectly, if you're going to take the time to break down all of these players and utilize your process, either stand on your process or don't waste your damn time. Don't waste your time, your effort. Time is finite. We only get so much of it on a daily basis in every single year in our lives. Don't worry about it and don't waste the time. If you're not going to stand on your own freaking process with how you rank players, then don't even waste the time. Just go off the echo chamber. You steal other people's opinions as far as you hear stuff and the massive talking voice and just regurgitate that shit, and don't waste your time if you're not going to stand behind the work that you're doing, because if you're not standing behind it, all you're doing, it's just a waste. So yeah, I'm going to stand on 10 toes down on my soapbox, on my process every single year, and I'm going to get a lot right, and I'm also going to get a lot wrong, because anybody that tells you in this space, regardless, whether it's fantasy, the draft, prospects, any of it, anybody that tells you they are 100% all the time is lying to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you getting that out there too, because I think it's important for people to hear, especially if you're new in content. This is your time. This is your energy. This is everything you're being. We all have families. We all have responsibilities outside of this content stuff. So it's important to not tear somebody down for having a different process, because man, if you followed everyone's process last year, you probably got a lot of things wrong this year. So, hey, I appreciate you. That is Derek Brown at Fantasy Pros, Dbro_FFB. Dbro, tell everybody where they can find your content, what you have cooking. I know you're a busy man right now. I'm sorry this pod went 45 minutes, but
dude, it's my fault. I run my damn mouth too much. It's my fault.
I like it, man. Talk away, brother. But tell everybody what you have cooking and what they can find when it comes to your stuff.
Everything is at fantasypros.com or bettingpros.com, whether you're looking at for Dynasty redraft, fantasy prospect, NFL draft stuff. I mean, we got you covered. Whether you're looking to bet on the NFL draft, again, we got you covered. Every single week, chopping it up with Seth Wilcock on the Fantasy Pros NFL Draft Show. That is my baby. That is my love letter. That is something that is extremely close to my heart. Launching that show and really trying to take the reins there over the last 2 years. So I really hope people tune into that, really appreciate and enjoy the content that we're putting out and all the fantastic freaking guests that we've had to this point. All my positional primers for the prospects, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end are already live on fantasypros.com. Those have been updated post combine with new comps. I've amended some of the write-ups and things like that, whether it was assertions that I made pre-combine, things that I've added going to the Senior Bowl and the combine, 2 write-ups. And yeah, I mean, right now it's really, the timer, the clock is ticking right now. I'm still working on my top 100 skill players. So my top 100 skill players, full write-ups, will be live before the NFL draft kicks off and we see picks flying off the board. But yeah, man, just thank you for the time. This was absolutely fantastic. I love going deep on a player and trying to get the good word out on a player that we both think is really, really talented. It can really help people out in fantasy circles.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate you in the space. I appreciate what you do. If you are not supporting him, go over there, go over to Fantasy Pros. You said Betting Pros as well. I'm sorry if I'm
Yep.
Betting Pros as well. Go support his content. For us, we are going to be joined again by a couple analysts next week. We're covering a couple prospects that I will not drop quite yet, but definitely check that out and follow the Dynasty show and Devi show that are going to be dropping this weekend. So we will catch you guys next week. We appreciate you and thank you for joining.
Right back to business as usual. Straight out of what's under my cuticle.